On March 11th, 2020, the World Health Organization officially declared the coronavirus crisis a global pandemic. Within the next couple weeks, Canada's provincial governments began to order the shutdown of non-essential businesses in order to promote social distancing and avoid overburdening our healthcare system. In general, only grocery stores, pharmacies, liquor stores, and restaurants with takeout service are allowed to operate. Some businesses have closed voluntarily because they're hemorrhaging money and they need to cut their losses. Many businesses across Canada have already closed permanently. If they had small profit margins in the first place, or if they were already going through tough times, a couple weeks without any customers at all was enough to take them out. According to a survey by the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, 40% of businesses have seen their revenues drop by 70% or more. And many have questions about how the nature of their business might be changed forever.
I'm hoping it doesn't last too much longer. We've been fortunate in that we've got enough kind of in the pipeline to last us for a while. The problem I have is I have nothing coming in the other end though. So even if this is over in June, I am not looking forward to July and August right now because we may have nothing to do.
Now that we're shut down, there's a calmness and I can deal with it. I've worked on mitigating my losses as much as possible, working on getting the loan to have some working capital to get me through. It's another month or two, even if we're into July, it's not going to cripple us. What it's going to do is it's going to change the culture and how people shop and how people acquire their goods and services. I wonder how we're going to roll it out. Is the business going to be able to be busy enough? Everybody jokes about how salons are going to get hit big time, that everybody needs their roots done and their pedicures, but then will they be able to be willing to come in at midnight because we can't service everybody all day long? Will I have service providers coming in at all hours of the day in order to service customers because maybe we were only allowed to have 5 or 6 customers at a time? So a lot of unknowns with regards to that. I don't think the shutdown is going to, if it's prolonged for another weeks or months, that's not going to be the issue. It's going to be, what is the business model going to be like once we reopen? Can we have a sustainable model at that time?
Since in many cases the government ordered the shutdown of these businesses, what are the governments in turn doing to help these businesses survive? The federal government has introduced 3 main programs. The first is the Canada Emergency Business Account. The Canada Emergency Business Account offers an interest-free loan to cover business operating expenses up to $40,000, and $10,000 of that loan is forgivable if it is repaid within 2 years. The second program is the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy. This is a direct subsidy that can help an employer cover up to 75% of an employee's wages in order to discourage layoffs and encourage the employer to keep people on staff and keep employing people. The most recent program announced by the government is the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance Program. This commercial rent assistance program supports small businesses with their rent payments.
Well, there's financial aid for, I suppose, a certain type of business. I don't know who these people are, but I'm sure there's businesses that can get some, help from loans. I don't like to work off a debt. I don't like to work off of loans. It's a small enough business as is, and I need it to run smooth, smooth or not at all. And so the loans would be useful for somebody to get out of a tight position, I suppose, but a lot of them were based on wages, and I don't have any employees. It's just myself, and that's the case for a lot of businesses. They're mom and pop operations, so there's just themselves. They don't pay anyone else, so that loan was useless. And I did go through the full list of all the different avenues and things that they had to help for small businesses, and there was nothing for me. And I thought, you know what? You're just going to have to figure this out on your own. You're going to have to, make your own plans of how to save yourself on this.
I think there's a lot of confusion around some of these things they keep bringing out. They've offered the wage subsidy, and then they put all these requirements in about what you had to do and what you had to experience. But at the same time, you turn around and yesterday they're giving $9 billion away to students. Well, okay, great. You see them offer 100% wage subsidy for a student. Well, I'm not going to lay one of my guys off and then go hire a student. Nobody's going to do that. That's a terrible message to send to your employees. These people have families they're supporting, and I take that very seriously. So, it's fine and well to do that kind of dressing stuff that plays well as a soundbite, but it does not help business owners at all, especially ones that want to keep their employees. It's critical for me and us to keep our core. Those are the people that really, they're there for you and they make your business what it is.
However, these programs are not free for alls, and many businesses are not eligible. For example, 37% of business owners say that the Canada Emergency Wage Benefit will not help them.
It's pretty darn good for the big companies, but for the little guy who's not even open, some restaurants are able to operate through takeout. I'm shut down completely. So there's, where's the benefit there? It's good for those companies that could take advantage of it, but if you're not an essential worker, then where's the benefit? So it's to me something that's going to keep the larger companies having a break, but the smaller companies being able to take advantage of that benefit. It would be good if they were able to say, hey, this 75% wage as we roll you in and reopen the economy, we're going to continue it on for say 6 months or 3 months. But during this pandemic, when we're being forced to be shut down, it's zero benefits.
The coronavirus crisis is far from over, and now we've got an economic crisis looming over us. Large corporations have only been thriving during this pandemic, but small businesses have gotten the short end of the stick, and it doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon.
I was thinking about that the other day, because it could go on, and there could be a second wave, and I can see all these restrictions coming back again, and it's the uncertainty and how the government at all levels, and us as a population too, we don't really have a plan in place for these sorts of things. We expect somebody to take care of us, and we expect the government to, but they obviously didn't have a plan. They, even when it was in front of them, they seemed to be like, giving their masks to China, and it's like, well, hold on, you have a situation back here at home that you need to figure out. But, will it affect me? Yeah, it would, because if you have to keep on, having sales, having reductions in your product, and not knowing how much product to make or not, because it's usually pretty predictable for me, but now it's not so much. How do you plan the next year? Do you go ahead and plan for these sales, or do you just go, play by ear? Customer wise, if it's a recession that comes out of it, that's a problem too. That's something else that you have in the back of your mind. I think I'm in an okay position. I have some control over my destination and with the business to a certain extent. But I know a lot of businesses don't, and I feel for the people that are like hairdressers or, like the karate instructor, those types, that they don't have another option and they really can't do anything. They have, for most people, if you think outside the box, you might be able to make it work, as long as you don't rely on the government for everything, because once you're in that trap, there's no getting out. But I hope that people are creative and and try to fight for themselves on this. And not only that, but I see a lot of people that are kind of giving in. They oh, the government says, I have to close down, and then they immediately close down. They take that as I have to obey. It's like, well, no, there might be flexibility. You should, open up.
The government they need to get to work. They need to stop pussyfooting around in Parliament, and they need to sit down, debate, and pass these laws so that we can get taken care of. And I really feel like there's a lot of foot dragging and a lot of avoidance going on, and I don't know why. It's very discouraging as a business owner to see our leaders not coming to the plate when they should have been. A lot of these issues should have been dealt with weeks ago. Put their minds together, work 24/7, having 1 o'clock conferences every day is great, but what's being done between 2 and noon, the other 22 hours? Let's put your nose to the grindstone and get some things accomplished.